3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to MCN and our 2023 Superbike Shootout. As you can see, there aren't many bikes here, and for the simple reason that there aren't many new Superbikes for 2023. There's basically this one, the BMW S1000RR, and we've brought along the Panigale V4S Ducati because this is the reigning champion. If you want to see where all the other bikes, kind of how they stack up, we made a video last year in 2022 where I sat on a brick wall outside of MCN and went through all the different Superbikes and where they fit in the world, because none of them have really changed, so that would still be relevant. And then we were here this time last year in the Peragusa circuit in Sicily, where we tested the three kind of exotic Superbikes, which was the M1000RR BMW, the SP2 version of this, and the Aprilia RSV4 factory. But back to 2023, the big story isn't really about how fast these Superbikes are, because that's a given now, isn't it? They're really, really powerful. They can only really be ridden to the limit by pro racers. I mean, you can see that when you see like people like Jorge Martin ride these practicing, and Zarco and all the rest of them. They're professional bikes that you can ride on the road, which is amazing. The BMW's evolved from the 2019 version. It's got smoother electronics, it's got wings, it's got cutouts in the frame, it's got loads of little detail changes. And I rode it at its world launch in Almeria at the end of 2022, and it felt so advanced, it felt like a computer game. It kind of felt uncrashable, unbelievable. And that's really because, you know, those chassis tweaks obviously helps, but all those electronics working for you, you know, making sure you stay on track, which is good for your safety. It's good for when the tyre grip comes down and you can still ride the same way. It's just amazing, really. And the way the Ducati's changed since the V4 came out in 2018 is incredible, because essentially it's the same bike. It's had some chassis tweaks along the way, but the thing that's made this so easy to ride is electronics, you know, from advanced traction control to mapping and everything in between. So when we started this test, I had a pretty kind of clear idea in my head of how it would pan out. And we've been here all day. We've been spinning loads and loads of laps on these control tyres. So they're both on the same tyres. They're on Pirelli Supercorsa version 4s, the latest and the greatest Supercorsa in the SP compound, the road compound, and they've been amazing. They've let us enjoy these bikes to the full. So I thought when this test started that this would be the easy one to ride, and this would be the one that would flatter you and would be good for your lap times, and this one would be kind of slightly angrier, but one for a professional rider. And what we discovered today was really, really interesting. So myself and my new road testing colleague Carl Stevens have been out on these bikes all day. We've kind of both agreed that they've changed character. If you were here 3 or 4 years ago, this would be the friendly one and this would be the angry one, but they've actually swapped. So the Ducati now is a bike that you can just jump on and ride to your limit really, really easily. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The attention to detail for riding is incredible, even from little things like it's got chunky grips, which gives you lots of feel through the bars. It's got wide splay bars. It's got different tank shape now, which helps you kind of lock into the bike easier. It's got quite low pegs. It's just a very roomy, easy to ride bike. The suspension, the Öhlins suspension control is incredible. The brakes are just astounding, but really linear and really easy to use. And of course, it's a missile. It's just amazing, and it looks beautiful as well. I mean, who wouldn't want one of these in the garage? So, riding this around Peregusa, and there's some proper fast corners here where you can really unleash your superbike. There's sweepers like Thruxton, I suppose, which are 4th, 5th and 6th gears, and you don't really get that opportunity to ride a superbike fast like that. So, to actually, ring the bell of a Ducati like that is amazing, and it does everything for you. It's really, really impressive, and it's largely down to electronics, not just how good the traction control is, but how good the mapping is. That's one of the secrets to good race bikes now, is how they're mapped. It's what lets BSB bikes run with no traction control, because within each gear, this is mapped separately in each gear. You've just got the power you need. So when you're coming out of a 1st, 2nd or 3rd gear corner, you've just got the power you want, and maybe a little bit more, so you can play with it if you're good enough. And you don't really need the electronics to sort of pull you back. It's like prevention better than cure. Then we jump from this to this, which I was expecting to be easy, but somehow BMW have turned this into a beast. It feels really raw now. I race a 2019 S1000RR, and it kind of feels like that. The engine has got kind of a roughness to it. It's quite spiky. The chassis feels stiffer than this one, even though I think this is still stiffer. The suspension feels very direct. The brakes feel quite harsh, not very linear. The first part of the braking is quite soft, and then it goes really, really hard. It's more cramped. It kind of feels like an old school superbike. The riding position, the seat's quite low, the pegs are quite high. And, at the end of the day, if these two bikes were just sat here and you told us to go out and just enjoy one of the bikes, you go for the Ducati every time. So it's really changed. It was the BMW. But what was interesting is we asked a professional rider to come along and set some lap times for us. And it's Alex Polita, who's one of Pirelli's test riders who helps develop their World Superbike tyres. So he's no slouch. He's raced the TT, he's been in BSB, he's won the World Superstock 1000 Championship. So not only is he fast, he's crazy as well. And we sent him out to ride these bikes with and without traction control, because we wanted to see if a professional rider needs electronics or not. And the results are really interesting. So he went out on a Ducati and he set a really fast lap time. Then we sent him back out again and turned the electronics off, and he went faster, which was really interesting. Then we sent him out on the BMW, and we were all expecting him to go slower. But immediately the BMW was faster than this was with electronics, and it was faster again without electronics. So what's changed now is that the Ducati's become more of a superbike for the every person. It's still not as good a road bike as this, because it's still quite extreme riding position wise. It belts out a lot of heat and it's quite clunky. It kind of still feels like a big twin. But if you were going to do a track day, you'd want this bike all day long. It's just much friendlier. But if you're a professional rider, this gives you more, which is astounding. And what Alex was saying was that because this is a little bit more raw and a little bit more spiky, when you turn all the electronics off, the bike does what he wants it to do. So if you're a rider that can back it into corners every lap and slide on the way out, I mean genuinely slide like a pro does, the BMW allows you to do that, which is hard to get your head around, isn't it? Because in racing, this is the bike to have and this isn't. And Alex was saying that this bike is a little bit less direct and a little bit less responsive at the limit with the traction control off. And he found that with traction control on both of these bikes, he couldn't really do what he wanted with the bikes. But we're talking about someone at proper World Championship level there. For riders like you and me, it's nice to have a bit of support. And I've read comments online when we talk about electronics that, you know, it's a common thing when people say electronics dilute some of the excitement you get from the bike and they take away some of the skill required. And that may be so. But when you're controlling animals, violent animals like this, they may look pretty, but they're brutal. You sometimes want a little bit of help. And even though these have got electronics, you still feel the force of acceleration, which is like nothing else you can get in a car or anywhere. You know, the force of braking, the cornering force, they're still exciting, red-blooded animals with electronics. So that was a really interesting outcome to our Superbike test. So the conclusion is that both of these bikes are incredible. Both have got electronics which help mortals like us be able to kind of taste some of the good stuff that we'd never get to taste if they didn't have electronics. And the Ducati wins the test for that reason. If you're good enough, buy one of these and you'll actually be faster.